My name is Melissa. I'm an occupational therapist and I specialize in helping people do job coaching, career decisions development, and also work in the community development sector. I recorded this masterclass, presented this masterclass on CV writing and interviewing skills last year in 2024. And then something went wrong with the recording, the live recording. And then I put it out to re-record. So this is me re-recording the presentation that will be uploaded onto the Career Chats with Mal YouTube channel. So this is where you'll find that content. On the day I was joined by Candice, who is a recruiting personnel at Marant Recruiting. And yeah, if you would like to get in touch with her, you are welcome to send me an email or just comment on this video and I will make sure that Candice gets in touch with you. So just a brief background, I think it's important to situate, our country and what's happening. And I pulled some stats last year on just the current state of where we're finding ourselves in the employment and unemployment sector. And so just some stats to say that, especially young people in South Africa, around 15, which is around 15 to 24 years of age, they are currently sitting at a 60.7% unemployment rate. So it's quite high, significantly high, which is data that was presented in the second quarter. So there is a big need for employment in our country, economic growth. And so also women generally have higher unemployment rates, is what the stats is showing. Due to our country's history, there's still a large discrepancy between those who are employed and unemployed. So this graph here just shows generally the unemployment rate and how significantly it had increased over the last couple of years since 2004, basically, to 2003. And around 2020, which was during COVID years, those couple of years, it was at the highest. And so it's slowly coming down, but it's still quite significantly high. This graph shows us the unemployment rate in South Africa, comparing quarter one 2019 to 2023. And this is just according to our racial groups. So you'll see the blue is Black African, the black line is colored, the gray line shows Indian or Asian, and the red line the white line at the bottom, the red line at the bottom is showing our white counterpart. So according to this, the increased unemployment rate is still sitting with our Black African population. Then this is also showing the unemployment rate, like I said, according to years. So the years 15 to 24 show significantly high data percentage. They are above 60%. They are currently sitting just over 60% unemployment rate. And then the least is now the 55 to 64-year-old population. Our middle adult age group, 35 to 44, they are the gray line on the graph that you can see. This is just showing the differences between men and women in our country. And then lastly, this shows youth with experience are more likely to transition from unemployment into employment. And this is just showing those without experience versus those with experience. So 4 times more likely that youth will get employment opportunities if they have experience. And so you're asking probably, where do I get experience, if I cannot find a job? And experience doesn't mean paid income, paid employment. Experience can be gained through voluntary associations, giving of your time. You just have to know how to document it in your CV, what you've done, where were you of assistance, even if you didn't get paid. It just shows that during, a certain period of time, you were still gaining skill, even though you were unemployed. So just some trends that we are noticing in terms of the CVs that get sort of earmarked and picked up in the world of work. CVs are becoming more skill focused. So if you can hone on into your skills that you have and be very clear and concise on that, it's great. It is to write about the hard and soft skills in a way that communicates, please tell me more, so they want to invite you to an interview. HR recruiters are starting to use AI to scan applications frequently. Apologies for the background noise, it's quite windy here today. So by me saying this, there's a lot of applications coming through, and since we are heading fast and hard into the direction of artificial intelligence, there are many AI tools out there that are used to scan CVs. So in terms of getting through the AI-generated systems, what I've been reading about is apparently those systems don't like CVs to have photographs on them. They want it very plain, sort of black and white style. And a clear tip from many of the sources I've read is to keep the descriptions very closely aligned to what you are reading, perhaps in the job description of the job ad that you saw, or the expectations that is lined out on the job ad. You shouldn't just have a generic, meaning a CV that you just send, the same CV that you send everywhere. You have to tailor your CV to the job that you're applying for, just in case that company has a AI-generated system that they use, and so that you can get through, at least through that part, and then land on the desk of the HR recruiters. And so, yeah, so to keep that in mind. I'm not sure the extent to which our country has adopted this, but it's definitely a thing to consider. So I perhaps would say have two CVs, have one that is very plain, black and white. Imagine like the old style, but not in the way that the old CVs looked, with the one-liners, health, fine, married, no, yes, that sort of thing. There's layouts that are more up to date and more on trend, I would say, of what's happening in the world. So if you're not sure, reach out to me. We can hop onto a short call, and I could just coach you through how to improve your CV. Then using social media, for example, as your personal branding CV. So LinkedIn, for example, that is where you can also use the LinkedIn platform for you to share about your skill, what projects you're currently working on, any certificates, certifications you have received, any degrees. Keep that up to date as possible. And I'm hearing that LinkedIn is the place where a lot of HR people hang out also to sort of recruit for people to join the companies. So the use of AI tools, these are just some that I've come across. I'm sure there's many, many, many more that you can of, but for example, these are some of the ones that either can help you generate your CV and then you can just edit them, the top ones. Then there are general applications that you can make use of. Canva, for example, has free CV templates. You can just hop on there, choose one that you like. And then also in terms of writing a cover letter, it's quite helpful I've tried this for myself just to see what happens. I've copied and pasted my CV into the AI chat, or one of those ones I've used, and it literally created a cover letter for me. And so I just needed to, definitely go back and edit, make it sound like yourself. And then most importantly, check that the information about yourself is correct. So I think since CVs now are very skills focused, want to see what's your latest thing that you've worked on. It's good practice to maybe keep your sharing of experience to maybe max 5 years, and then just leave a note, towards the end. If a full CV is requested for later experience after 5 years, I'm happy to send you my full CV. But generally, where you would share your work experience information, working for more than 5 years, I just share the last 5 years If it has been one place, definitely then add more other companies. So for example, I've only worked at one place for the last 5 years. So in my case, I like to share I like to share my experience from 10 years, so for the last 10 years, where have I worked? If you are much older and you obviously have been having different jobs and 1 year there, 6 months here, your experience section might be quite bulky and chunky, and you would have to ask yourself, what about being 6 months at, for example, a retail store is applicable to the job that I'm applying for? Is there a specific skill that I can draw on that will speak to the job description or not? So think about, it's not just about saying I've worked here, and they really want to see the skills that you've generated through that. So if you feel like it wasn't and it doesn't align much to the role that you're applying for, then you don't have to put it in, but it's also up to you, right? So think about also listing some interesting, projects that you maybe have worked on. Have you created something from scratch, especially if you're in the IT world or if you're designers? Have you built websites? Can you share some links to websites or, things that you've built from scratch? Share some of those links on the CV. I'm sure you know how to do that. Again, if you don't, book a call with me, a short call, and we can go through a short meeting so I can coach you through some of the things that you're struggling with. Then have you been able to network, do you have a specific way that you network that affords you access to spaces or rooms? Have you attended any specific conferences? Have you presented on your work? Are you perhaps a board member? What is your role on the board? Anything related to perhaps maybe how you've implemented a system at work where it, improved operational flow, or that perhaps anything that you would want to highlight that you've done that has impacted on the business or the organization that you work at. And then most importantly, have you kept up to date? What is the latest course that you've been doing? And yeah, I want to stand still in that. If you have been unemployed for a while, there's places like Udemy, Coursera, that's offering courses for not lots of money, like maybe 100 Rand, 200. They are obviously some more expensive, but try to keep up to date with those things because that's important to show the places that you are interviewing at, that you are keeping up to date. Maybe learn a new tool if you have some time and extra money. If you're struggling with paying and also maybe internet access. There are libraries, there are coffee shops, there are many, many options where you can, go and sit for the day and just learn and upskill. So some CV do's and don'ts. So do have a profile section. It is important, but like I said, it's not anymore where you have that first page and the whole profile is the first page. Keep the CVs quite short, not more than 5 pages if you can. 5 pages is even too much, I would say. But again, if you are struggling, get in touch and we can see how we can help. Include only relevant information. So your actual home address or area code is okay if you choose to share your actual address, but you could just say Strand, for example, and the area code. You don't have to give your actual address. If they are interested, they will definitely make contact with you for further information to double check, to verify you. But on your CV, because you're just not sure where your CV is going to land, right? So your ID numbers, for example, I would say don't put that in. Yeah, you can put your date of birth, but and your phone number obviously is important. Your email, how they can contact you is important. And where you write the little description about yourself, feel free to share some personal facts. You're a mom, you have 3 kids, this is what you enjoy doing. You have 10 plus years experience, you're an expert in this, in that. So that's where you can write a little bit of personal information, but try and keep it as closely linked to your professional role. Then towards, I have explained education experience, so that's important. Have you studied? Do you have the certifications or the degree papers to show, and then also highlight any major achievements or awards that you've won, that you've been part of. If you are a recent school leaver, I would say it's appropriate to use examples from high school. But for example, I'm working more than 10 years now, so I don't put on my CV anymore that I was a prefect at school. So that, it doesn't, it's not an award or an achievement that I put down. I look for the latest thing. So maybe I've been awarded a grant for my research, or maybe I've received acknowledgement for whatever, doing a specific thing at work, or so I hope you understand what I'm saying. But if you're a recent school leaver, by all means, feel free to use those as awards or achievements. And then, like I've said, work experience, I've touched on that. And then also references, ask permission first of the people that you are thinking of using. It is not, nice for somebody to just unexpectedly. I think a lot of people also don't pick up phone calls of numbers that they don't know. So it would be nice for you to give the person a heads up. Look, I've applied. Can I use you as a reference? They might call you, etc., etc. Okay. Then don't include ID numbers. You don't have to. If you are just creating a general CV that you're just going to post everywhere, I would obviously say avoid putting down extremely personal information where people could easily identify. Obviously, they will be able to identify you by your name and surname, etc. But you don't have to put ID numbers. Recruiters will definitely reach out. Actual addresses, like I said, and avoid it being too wordy. So scan through your CV if there's a lot of repetition. So do a final cut or edit. So cover letters, I get asked this a lot. What is the purpose of a cover letter? Do I have to do one for every CV? And then, where do I even start, right? So cover letters, particularly some roles will say, please submit your CV and cover letter. Then, give them the cover letter because they've requested it. Sometimes companies don't bother with a cover letter and they just want the CV, and so you don't have to. It is nice to just have one that you can edit, keep editing, and know that the cover letter must be addressed to the place, to the company that you're applying at. So it needs to be tailored, like I said, to a specific company. And then what is the purpose? So essentially, the purpose of the cover letter is sometimes the first thing that a recruiter will read. They're sifting through lots of applications, and sometimes they choose to read the cover letter to see if they want to look at the rest of the CV or if they would be interested in inviting you for an interview. It's a place where you just give a personal introduction about yourself, how your skills, knowledge, experience speaks to the job description. So it's almost like a summary of your CV. And then it's a call to action. So you would love to have, or you would invite to have a further conversation if they would be interested in letting you know that they would like to speak to you, or you would welcome an interview or a conversation to continue explaining how you are fit for the role. So something like that. So again, like I said, I won't demonstrate it here, but literally I've just copied and pasted my CV. So like from basically the whole thing, because it wasn't long, and AI generated one for me that I just edited afterwards, made it more specific to the job. So these options, So getting into the interview side of things, you probably know this, but if you don't, preparation is very important. A lot of the times people will obviously show up. Nerves are normal. It's part of it. It's good to be nervous. But some things helps to get those nerves at bay. And that is often candidates also say that the other time, if a candidate is well prepared, then those are often less noticeable to the panel or to the people who are interviewing them. Research the company. How can you do that? Go onto LinkedIn, type in the company's name, look who's the CEO, look who's in top management, look who'd be part of your team. Maybe the manager of your team will be there. And yeah, you get a sense perhaps on the company's website, if they have a website. If they don't have a website, that's something to keep in mind, because when it comes to the questions, you could use that to your advantage. Check if they have social media pages. What's the culture that they seem to be putting out there? Are they very corporate? Are they more relaxed? You get a sense of a company and what they portray out there of themselves. Like I said, research some of the team members, check the job description, make sure that you're familiar with what the role is about. If you are unsure, again, keep that for the questions. So they may ask you, do you have questions? And then whatever you are unsure about the specific role, it's your opportunity to then ask them. So yeah, think about different scenarios that may potentially come up as you interview. Again, if this is something that you struggle with preparing for interviews, reach out and we can see how we can work together. Then for government positions, for example, so those of you who don't know, I've worked a little bit in clinical and now I'm more in an academic space at UCT. But in my clinical sort of period, I've obviously had to interview, for those posts. And one of the things that they love asking in interviews are very case study specific. So they'll present you with maybe an example with a case, and they'll ask you, how would you manage this case? And then you have to obviously go through which assessments, what treatment plan, what would be the next steps. They might ask you things about policies, any technical process. They may ask you about service levels. So are you aware of our South African service levels? So the primary level versus the secondary and the tertiary hospitals, what does each of those levels do? And that might run across, not just in occupational therapy, it may be applicable to other allied professionals too. If you're not in the sort of clinical side, but maybe you're a cleaner or you are a porter or wanting to apply for an admin role, it's also important to know some of the policies, to know some of the processes that you would follow, in addition to some of the technical things. So again, if you're stuck on what could possibly be coming up in an interview, give me a shout and we can see how we can work together. If the interview is online, please make sure that you have good connection and good internet access. Test your camera before the time, test your audio before the time. And then if it's in person or online, don't be late. I think try to be there at least 30 minutes before the time. So I'm just trying to remember now what Candace said. So Candace said generally companies don't like people to come too early because you are in the way. They don't know what to do with you because other candidates are coming through. And yeah, they can only go as fast as the process allows. So maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the time. If you are much, much earlier, maybe wait outside or until you are closer to the time and then you head to the reception or wherever you need to report to. So then how to navigate some of the questions that might come up in the interview process. So like I said, some tips, practical tips per industry. Like I said, in health, they like to ask case-based scenarios linked to some policies. General administrative roles, they will generally ask you how can you work under pressure, they would like to see how you think, just also your personality. And so general questions might be asked also about where you see yourself in 5 years, those types of questions. What do you feel you could contribute to the company? Why have you left, or what's your reason for leaving, that sort of thing. I'm going to start uploading, like examples of how to answer some things. But yeah, it's so easily available these days online if you are struggling to answer some of those types of questions. Then for finance, if you're thinking about, what is core to your, if you are in finance, what's core to your industry, and it's very analytical, very procedural. If you make a mistake, there's repercussions, so that's probably, things that they will ask around analytical type of things. Tech, they love asking about what projects you work on, what's the latest tools that you've been learning and that you're excited about in terms of the future, and how things are progressing with AI, for example. What's your take on that? So try to formulate some of your own opinions, some of your own examples of the work that you've contributed. If you work in a team, think about specific roles that you've applied and contributions that you have made. Management level, that's obvious in terms of just being aware, for example, of structure, process, systems. If you're needing to implement quite a lot of those things in your new role or the one that you're interviewing for, how would you go about creating better systems? Do you have examples of that you can learn from? So in me saying this also, the tip is also to just read a lot. Keep your eye on the pulse when it comes to news on what's happening. And then also, yeah, you're going to have to love reading if you're in management, because you have to know policies, structure, procedure, how things need to be run. And then some more tips. So why did you leave? The why did you leave question. A tip is always never to say anything negative about the company that you've left. Keep things positive. If it was a toxic environment, you can say that the environment have presented some challenges for your growth, and so you would like to, take the opportunity to look into new roles where you can grow as a person and as a professional. Salary expectations question. So I would say first ask them what their budget is for the role, because sometimes we undersell ourselves just in terms of we just want a little bit more than what we had when we left the previous job. But sometimes there's a range, right? So they might say, okay, the budget for this role is between 35,000 and 50,000. It's quite a big range if you think about it. And you may say, before knowing the range, you might say even 30,000 and their minimum was 35. So they might question why is this person only thinking that this role is 30,000 and worth? So that's something to keep in mind. Ask them what the budget is and get from there. So what is your weakness? So although reflecting on your weakness is a sign of self-awareness, that you're aware that you still have growth areas, choose something that is still positive in a way. It's hard to not say it as an example. So maybe I'll give you an example. So you could, if this is something you're genuinely struggling with delegating, you could say you really value your work and you're a very detailed orientated person, and this sometimes leads to you taking on all of the tasks where perhaps you recognize the importance of delegation and sharing the load with the team, which would lead to work getting done more efficiently, faster. So it's definitely something you're working on. You're learning how to delegate more. And perhaps putting in place things that you need to put in place so that the work still gets done at a certain standard, so it's still positive, but you're recognizing and you're self-aware about the weakness. Tell me about yourself. So this is not, I like lazing on the beach on the weekend. It is a little bit personal, but you can also share some professional aspirations that you have, some questions that you can prep for the interview. So sometimes they will end off, do you have any questions for us? And it's important that you do ask them questions, because it just shows that you are interested in the company and what it has to say. So one, like I said previously, if you notice they don't have a website, you could say, I've noticed you don't have a website. And I've been wanting to read a little bit more about your company's culture or just get a sense. Could you give me maybe a small summary of what your company culture is like? That gives them an opportunity to share what they value about the company and what they think people would be drawn to work at the company and why people want to work there. You could ask, what does the next 3 to 6 months look like if I want to be successful? What are the short and maybe medium-term goals for the successful candidate? Gives you a sense, do these people know exactly what this role is about? And how serious are they about inducting you, but also making you part of the team? And just this overall sense of, for you too, what can you expect as soon as you start? So yeah, just to put it out there, you might be invited to multiple interviews. The first one might just be the HR, maybe the manager, your line manager, for them to get a sense, if, okay, cool, if he likes, then maybe another one where you sitting with the CEO or CFO, the financial officer, or yeah, it just depends where you interview. Some roles might have psychometric tests, and you can practice psychometric tests online if you didn't know that. Or you could, if you've been negotiating through an HR recruiter, they could send you possible links for you to practice. Yeah, if you have any questions further, pop them in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get back to them. So yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments, and that is the end of the talk. I hope this was helpful for you, and if you would like to work with me, reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Melissa Franke. I am on Instagram, Melissa_Franke, and I am on Facebook. You can find me. I also have a Career Chats with Mel Instagram page. So whichever one you find, I'll put all of the links to the social media where you can locate me, and we can see how we can work together. Perhaps book a consult, or and I can coach you through some of the things that you need help with. All right. All the best, and may 2025 be your year of thriving. See you guys.